Glory be to thee, O Lord of the world and desire of the nations, O thou who hast become manifest in the greatest name, whereby the pearls of wisdom and utterance have appeared from the shells of the great sea of thy knowledge, and the heavens of divine revelation have been adorned with the light of the appearance of the Son of thy countenance. I beg of thee, by that word through which thy proof was perfected among thy creatures, and thy testimony was fulfilled amidst thy servants, to strengthen thy people, in that whereby the face of the cause will radiate in thy dominion, the standards of thy power will be planted among thy servants, and the banners of thy guidance will be raised throughout thy dominions. O my Lord, thou beholdest them clinging to the rope of thy grace, and holding fast unto the hem of the mantle of thy beneficence. Ordain for them that which may draw them nearer unto thee, and withhold them from all else save thee. I beg of thee, O thou King of existence and protector of the seen and the unseen, to make whosoever arises to serve thy cause as a sea moving by thy desire, as one ablaze with the fire of thy sacred tree, shining from the horizon of the heaven of thy will. Verily thou art the mighty one, whom neither the power of all the world nor the strength of nations can weaken. There is no God but thee, the one, the incomparable, the protector, the self-subsisting. Baha'u'llah.
O God, and the God of all nations, and the maker of the heavens, I entreat thee by thy name, through which he who is the dayspring of thy might, and the dawning place of thy power, hath been manifested, through which every solid thing hath been made to flow, and every dead corpse hath been quickened, and every moving spirit confirmed. I entreat thee to enable me to rid myself of all attachment to anyone but thee, and to serve thy cause, and to wish what thou didst wish through thy power, through the power of thy sovereignty, and to perform what is good, and to perform what is the good pleasure of thy will. I beseech thee, moreover, O my God, to ordain for me what will make me rich enough to dispense with anyone save thee. Thou seest me, O my God, with my face turned towards thee, and my hands clinging to the cord of thy grace. Send down upon me thy mercy, and write down for me what thou hast written down for thy chosen ones. Powerful art thou to do what pleaseth thee. No God is there but thee, the ever-forgiving, the all-bountiful.
Sifa iwe kwako, Bwana mpendo wangu kabisa. Nifanye thabiti katika hoja yako, na ujalie kwamba niweze kuhesabiwa kati ya wale ambao hakuvunja ahadi yako wala kufuata miungu ya mawazo yako wenyewe ya upuuzi. Niwezeshe basi kupata kiti cha ukweli mbele yako, nijalie dalili ya rehema yako, na acha niungane na wale watumishi wako ambao hatakuwa na woga wala kuhuzunishwa, usiniache peke yangu. Bwana wangu, usininyime kutambua yeye ambaye ni udhihirisho wako wewe mwenyewe, wala unihesabu pamoja na wale ambao wamegeukia mbali kutoka machoni pako patakatifu. Nihesabu Mungu wangu pamoja na wale ambao wamepata maendeleo kukazia macho yao kwenye uzuri wako, ambao hawakufurahia mno kwamba wasingeweza kubadilisha umo pamoja na kitambo kwa enzi ya ufalme wa mbinguni na duniani, wala miliki nzima ya Mungu. Uwe na rehema juu yangu, Bwana, katika siku hizi, wakati watu wa dunia yako wamekosa vya kuhuzunisha. Nipe basi, Mungu wangu, kile kistahilicho chema na kistahilicho katika ukadiriaji wako. Wewe hakika mwenye nguvu kabisa, mwenye neema, mkarimu, msamehevu daima.
O people of Baha, ye are the breezes of spring that are wafted over the world. Through you, we have adorned the world of being with the ornament of the knowledge of the Most Merciful. Through you, the countenance of the world hath been wreathed in smiles, and the brightness of his light shone forth. Cling ye to the cord of steadfastness, in such wise that all vain imaginings may utterly vanish. Speed ye forth from the horizon of power, in the name of your Lord, the unconstrained, and announce unto his servants with wisdom and eloquence the tidings of this cause, whose splendor hath been shed upon the world of being. Beware, lest anything withhold you from observing the things prescribed unto you by the pen of glory, as it moved over his tablet with sovereign majesty and might. Great is the blessedness of him that hath hearkened to its shrill voice, as it was raised through the power of truth, before all who are in heaven and all who are on earth. O people of Baha, the river that is life indeed hath flowed for your sakes. Quaff ye in my name, despite them that have disbelieved in God, the Lord of revelation. We have made you to be the hands of our cause. Render ye victorious this wronged one, who hath been so tried in the hands of the workers of iniquity. He, verily, will aid everyone that aideth him, and will remember everyone that remembereth him. To this beareth witness of this tablet that hath shed the splendor of the loving kindness of your Lord, the all-glorious, the all-compelling.
በተከበረው ከአምላክ በላይ ከፍተኛ በሆነው በጌታችን ስም በሰማይ ውስጥና በምድር ካለው ሁሉ ካልተላቀቀ በቀር ማንም ወደ እውነተኛው የመረዳት ውቅያኖስ ዳርቻ ሊደርስ አይችልም። እናንተ የዓለም ሕዝቦች ሆይ ምናልባት ከዚህኛው አምላክ ወደ መደበላችሁ ደረጃ ለመድረስ ትችሉ ዘንድ በዚህም በአምላክ ፍቃድ በባያን ውስጥ ወደ ተተከለው ድንኳን ለመግባት ትችሉ ዘንድ ነፍሶቻችሁን አንጹ። የነዚህ ቃላት ፍሬ ነገር የሚከተለው ነው። እነዚያ በእምነት መንገድ የሚራመዱት፣ እነዚያ የእርግጠኝነትን የወይን ጠጅ የሚጠሙት፣ ራሳቸውን ምድራዊ ከሆነው ነገር ሁሉ ማለትም ጆሮቻቸውን ከማይረባ ወሬ፣ አይምሮቻቸውን ከከንቱ አስተሳሰብ፣ ልቦቻቸውን ከዓለማዊ ፍቅር፣ አይኖቻቸውን ከሚጠፋ ነገር ሁሉ ማንጻት አለባቸው። እነርሱ እምነታቸውን በአምላክ ላይ በማድረግ እርሱንም አጥብቀው በመያዝ መንገድ መከተል አለባቸው። ከዚያም ለመለኮታዊ እውቀትና የመረዳት ፀሐይ አንጸባራቂ ጸጋዎች ብቁ ይደረጋሉ። ወሰን የሌለውና የማይታየውን ጸጋ ተቀባዮች ይሆናሉ። ምክንያቱም አምላክንና ነቢያቱን በትክክል ለመረዳትና ለማወቅ የሟች ሰዎችን ቃላትና ተግባራት እንደ መለኪያ አድርጎ መቁጠር እስካላቋረጠ ድረስ ማንም የንዑዱን እውቀት ወደ ሆነው ለመድረስ ተስፋ ለማድረግ ከመለኮታዊም እውቀትና ጥበብ ወንዝ ረክቶ ለመጠጣት ወደ ሞት አልባው መኖሪያው ለመግባት ከመለኮታዊ ቅርበትና ችሎታ ጽዋም ለመካፈል ከቶ አይችልምና።
Thanks a lot. Welcome to our second day. Yesterday,
from our discussions and reflections, there were very beautiful experiences and insights that were shared with regards to the movement of clusters. One that became clear was that it will not be possible to attain the aim of the plan unless more and more strong third milestone clusters are raised in at least each group of adjoining clusters. All of us appreciated that from your contributions and the experiences that were shared. These clusters have to be sufficiently strong, resilient, and outward looking to assist surrounding clusters and those further afield in the sub-region, region, or nation to advance along the continuum of development. One of the points also that became clear yesterday and was observed to be appreciated by most of you is the central strategy of the 9-year plan, which is to strengthen the capacities of third milestone clusters, as I mentioned, and extend them to surrounding clusters in an increasing number of groups of adjoining clusters. As I said, without which it will be very difficult to realize the goals that of the 9-year plan. The next phase of the 9-year plan, therefore, calls for a deliberate and sustained focus on raising such clusters and significantly strengthening the pattern of support they provide to other clusters. This means we have to learn how to raise dynamic groups of adjoining clusters that help ensure each cluster in the group has the resources and knowledge it needs to advance. And we observed how practical steps were identified on how this could be achieved in the course of the coming cycles. For this plenary session 3 today, we will focus our reflection and discussions on the process of learning related to teaching and enrollments, a subject you will continue exploring deeply and practically in the breakout session 4 after lunch. Dear friends, as you know, the efforts of communities conform to the rhythm of cycles of expansion and consolidation, punctuated every 3 months by reflection and planning, and the House of Justice urges us to ensure that these cycles unfold without interruption. In its 29 December 2015 message, the House of Justice highlights that the cluster reflection gathering in each cycle regulates the pulsating heartbeat of the process of collective learning of the community. And in the same message, the House of Justice describes how the expansion phase does so much to determine the outcome of each cycle, and that our focus and investment of time endow this short but decisive phase of the cycle with the intensity it demands. And in its 27th December 2005 message, the House of Justice states that when human resources increase in a manner proportionate to the rise in the overall Baha'i population from cycle to cycle, it is possible not only to sustain but to accelerate growth. Therefore, in the second phase of the 9-year plan, we need to pay close attention on strengthening cycles of activity. Sustaining these cycles, indeed, their health and vitality depends on making sure opportunities are created for teaching and to welcome more people into the embrace of the faith. As you may remember, the House of Justice in paragraph 9 and 10 of the 30th December 2021 message wrote the following about teaching enrollment. The accomplishments of the progress of the previous series of plans, particularly the last 5-year plan, could not have occurred without a tremendous advance in the teaching work. An important dimension of this work is the capacity to engage in conversations on spiritual themes, a capacity which was explored in our message to your 2015 conference, where we described how it is developed through participation in institute courses and by sustaining practical, by gaining practical experience. It is evident that the pattern of activity unfolding at the grassroots opens up a variety of settings in which receptive souls, sometimes whole families or peer groups, can take part in meaningful conversations which awaken interest in the vision of the faith and the person of Baha'u'llah. Over time, many such souls begin to identify themselves with the Baha'i community, especially as they gain the confidence to participate in community life through service. Of course, the community welcomes any degree of association that a person would like to maintain, great or small. Yet, to recognize Baha'u'llah as a manifestation of God and accept the privileges and responsibilities that are uniquely associated with membership in the Baha'i community is a singular moment in a person's spiritual development, quite distinct from regular involvement in Baha'i activities or voicing support for Baha'i principles. Experience has shown that the environment created by community building endeavors in a locality enables anyone who wishes to take this step to do so with relative ease. Wherever these endeavors are underway, it is important for the friends to remain mindful that the doors of the faith are wide open and to give encouragement to those who stand at the threshold. And in areas where each endeavors have been well established for some time, many believers are discovering that a vibrant, expanding pattern of activity can naturally lead to families, groups of friends, and even clusters of households being ready to enter the cause. For in spaces where the responsibility of joining the community can be discussed, the possibility of joining the community can be discussed openly and inclusively among those who share a sense of collective identity, souls can more easily feel emboldened to take this step together. Baha'i institutions, especially local spiritual assemblies, must adopt a mindset that allows for such developments and ensure that any obstacles are removed. We ask you and your auxiliaries to help the believers, wherever they reside, reflect periodically on effective ways of teaching the faith in their surroundings, and to find within their hearts a passion for teaching that will attract the confirmations of the divine kingdom. Souls who have been given the blessing of faith have a natural wish to share this gift through conversations with the relatives, friends, classmates, co-workers, and those previously unmet, seeking in every place and at every moment a hearing ear. Different settings and circumstances lend themselves to different approaches, and the friends should be occupied in an ongoing process of learning about what is most effective in the place where they are. So, dear friends, we are engaged in a systematic learning process called for by the House of Justice in paragraphs that I have just read to you. And it is hoped that in the second phase of the plan, further insights will emerge regarding the evolving nature of the teaching work and the way people enter the faith, the multiplicity of paths leading to Baha'u'llah, and the various processes through which enrollment occurs. As you can appreciate, there are many people participating in core activities who are not Baha'is, and many others who are associated with the faith who are not in core activities. Whatever their involvement, all can be viewed as being one way or another on a path leading towards Baha'u'llah and the application of his revelation to their lives and to society. It is therefore necessary to systematically learn about the processes that enable or even hinder or inhibit a portion of these souls when ready to take the step to enroll. This learning process should not be treated in a simplistic way. We must not think only in terms of numerical goals. Rather, there are many considerations associated with strengthening this process of learning. This process is not separate from the broader processes of the plan unfolding in our clusters, neighborhoods, and villages. It is intimately connected to the strengthening of the institute process, to efforts aimed at raising additional centers of intense activity, to the rhythms and coherence of the cycles of activity, and to fostering collaborative arrangements, including groups of families. It is also inseparable from the movement of clusters towards the third milestone and beyond. In fact, when experience and resources flow from a third milestone cluster to neighboring clusters, the capacity to recognize when the seat of the heart is open and the nature of the conversation that lead to such moments becomes an essential dimension of what is shared. This ability of perceiving receptivity, engaging in meaningful conversations, and discerning opportunities for direct teaching is one of the key elements that must be consciously strengthened and systematically disseminated within the clusters, groups of adjoining clusters, across regions and beyond. And friends, I will end with reminding ourselves on our sacred duty to teach from Abdul Baha. In his will and testament, you remember, he reminds us that of all the gifts of God, the greatest is the gift of teaching. It draweth unto us the grace of God and is our first obligation. Of such a gift, how can we deprive ourselves? Nay, our lives, our goods, our comforts, our rest, we offer them all as a sacrifice for the upper beauty and teach the cause of God. So friends, I and my co-chair this morning We will now invite you to share some relevant examples from your sub-regions, regions or nations of how your clusters are learning systematically about direct teaching and enrollment cycle after cycle. We are expecting your examples will be from a variety of settings and involve different populations. For example, environments resulting from individual enrollment, resulting from individual teaching, from different populations among youth, and regarding how families and others formally embrace the faith in groups. And as it was explained yesterday, we'll continue with the same culture for more and more people to get the opportunity to share. Let's try to limit our contributions to more than 5 minutes, not more than 5 minutes. Limit your contributions to not more than 5 minutes. We will figure out an approach of alerting you. Yeah, I might stand, but I will not show you whether it will be a good, a strong sign. So friends, we'll start with Andrea from Tanzania, and we'll have Emias from Ethiopia, and Sami from Uganda.
Hello, dear friends. Yeah, I'd like to share what we are learning to work with the specific population known as Wasukuma. The Wasukuma are an ethnic group in large number across all clusters in the Tabora sub-region, which has 45 clusters. This group are the following features. 1, live in groups according to their clans, are mainly engaged in family and livestock keeping. They believe that to be respected, one must have a large family, are highly receptive, especially when approached through influential elders or trusted families. Because of their livelihood activities, they have 2 main cycles which they are more available to participate in effectively in institute processes, April, July, and July, October. If you want to work with women, you need female facilitators, or otherwise, you must seek permission from her mother or mothers-in-law. Appreciate it very much when you join them in their daily social activities. Feel encouraged when you speak their language, even if you make mistakes. Do not like people who come today and leave tomorrow, or those who assert themselves. Approaches that have proven effective in teaching over the past 4 years. Community conferences, institution study cycles, literacy programs, reading and writing, enrollment or registration, arts, particularly choir. Areas where we have done well, strategic follow-up of friends who participated in community conferences, building good relationship with local residents, especially identified families, maintaining organized house-to-house visits, building good relationship with village and sub-village leaders, identifying families for strategic engagement, patience, and perseverance. Steps we plan to take: strengthen the concept of family groups, build and strengthen operational and administrative capacity at all levels, continue and systemize the literacy program, strengthen core team functioning, building a vision of community ownership of activities, identify faith-based books for the community to deepen their understanding about the faith, strengthen the functioning of the agencies. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share about some teaching experiences in the Addis Ababa cluster, which is a third milestone cluster. there were different activities to mobilize the friends or let that fire of teaching burn deeper. One was the teaching conference, which was held in 2024, where the whole region was attending. After that, the friends engaged in different kinds of teachings, like the main strategy being friends organizing themselves in a nucleus, where they study the training institute material and use that material to extend conversation on whatever they study in their networks. The other was the intensive programs, intensive studies for the youth gatherings, which is usually lead to teaching. So the participants usually participate, share their share about the faith to their friends, and those who attend the study of the intensive courses usually ask direct questions. Who is Baha'u'llah? Is he a messenger? How do you know? Because we believe only in Christ. Then that discussion will lead to more teaching. And maybe if I can give one example, network of families who decided to study book 2 and use that opportunity to extend the conversation to their networks, like colleagues, relatives, neighbors. And what they did was they invited their friends whenever they show some willing to that study circle, because book 2 usually introduces the faith. So there they found themselves directly accessing the Word of God, which moved them. And one of the attendees kind of started another group of our own for Orthodox Christian study. So inspired by that experience. And this network of families, they engage those friends in all activities like celebration of holidays, devotional meetings. Once they come, they will be member of that group. And another experience is the experience in the Center of Intense Activity, Takola, where the youth come, study, they are immersed in the community life, whether it is feast, holiday, home visits, and at a certain point, the friends detect that these friends are ready and invite them to cross that threshold and join the faith. But I can give you one example. It was not as easy at the beginning, first time. Okay, so what happened was the first time we had a number of youth join the faith was when there was a time to identify an ATC member, and the counselor was with us, and we discussed, so and so is a very good person, can contribute to the ATC, but we said, the counselor was saying this, we said, no, he's not a Baha'i. He said, he's always here for the intensive study, yes. Does he go to the feast? Yes, he goes to the feast. And also he fasts. He goes to home visit, but we said, he didn't say, I'm a Baha'i. But the RBC insisted we have to know to assign him. So the counselor sent one of the ABMs to go and talk to him. It was a very delicate conversation, as you might guess. But the friend said, yeah, what do you think? I was with you all the time. I'm a Baha'i. And what about your friends, the others? Yeah, they think themselves as a Baha'i. So we are 6, 7 friends joining then. And now we have another batch coming with the same trend, immersing them in all the activities of the neighborhood. So they also consider themselves Baha'is, and now we have learned. So just to share that, thank you very much.
Thank you. So friends, don't reserve yourself from sharing the numbers also if you do have them. Like in the sense of from this process, how many believers have enrolled as a result of the efforts you are describing over the last 4 years?
Allow our friends. I'll share my experience from Butebo cluster in eastern Uganda. Butebo cluster is a milestone 1 cluster in Bukedi sub-region, and for some time it was a home to a number of isolated Baha'is who, although having little contact with the wider Baha'i community, remained firm and steadfast in their faith. In 2024, the passing of an elderly believer who was well known for his clear Baha'i identity and his wish to be buried according to the Baha'i law became a powerful teaching moment. Many people gathered for the burial and raised questions which prompted conversations about the faith. And during the funeral, several individuals identified themselves as Baha'is, while many more expressed a sincere desire to understand what the Baha'i faith really was. Realizing the need to respond to this receptivity, visiting teams were sent from Mbale and Ngora clusters to support the community. Together, they initiated activities and facilitated the study of the Rizvan 2025 message. As a result, 15 believers were identified and a local spiritual assembly was formed in that cluster. Continued accompaniment led to further growth and consolidation. The community has since expanded to approximately 38 believers, with 8 new declarations emerging during a Book 1 study. In addition, around 20 homes have been opened for devotional meetings, and inspired by the steadfast faith of the early believers, friends are now preparing to serve as children class teachers, junior youth animators, and tutors in that cluster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Friends, you are doing very well today with time. And I would assure you, most of you raise your hands, and more hands can come. We'll be able to cover you. So now we'll call Sami Mwangi from Northeast Kenya, followed by Philemon from South Sudan, and Josephine from Northwest. We'll announce the other names.
So, dear friends, I wanted to share a brief experience regarding teaching and enrollment, the learning process on teaching and enrollment among the Rendile population in northeastern Kenya. So over the last 2 years in this sub-region, so this is a sub-region that we've been, So this is a sub-region that we've been learning to open, re-establish communities here. And at the beginning of the, at this point we had, at the beginning we had a list of 34 friends that had been taught a few years ago. And so what we've seen since January of 2024, when we started this process, is that we've seen a remarkable strengthening of the community, of the community life among, in this community. So we started with a few believers scattered in 3 centers. And today, activities of the faith are taking root in 7 villages that are now spread across 2 clusters in this area. Specifically about teaching and enrollment, the number of believers has grown steadily. Now we have 254 believers across these communities, these 7 villages. And these are concentrated in the Laisamis and Logologo core clusters, with a small number in Marsabit town. So this is that cluster. In terms of how this is going hand in hand with the process of with the other processes, so we have about 500 individuals who are currently engaged in community building activities across these 2 clusters. And as a result of this, 3 local spiritual assemblies have been formed. So 2 of them in Laisamis cluster, where We started work in 2024 January, and one in Logologo cluster, where we started work in March of 2025, sorry, last year. So in these communities, we are learning to raise the capacity to carry out, to carry out the numerous responsibilities amongst the two communities, and to support the growth process in the community, and to extend activities to nearby villages. Maybe just one thing to add relating to this experience and connect it with the learning process across the region. So as a region, from 2023, the Northeast region was started a systematic learning process on teaching and enrollment, and started with a teaching conference in August of 2023. So far, we've had 755 enrollments during this first phase of the plan, and a sizable number, as I mentioned, has come from this community. So this specific Rendile community, which we had not learned to work with at the beginning of the plan. Thank you.
So, Sami, just if you can clarify the 250 and 755?
254.
254 and 755.
So 755 is across the region.
Okay.
I wanted to put it into this context because we do have other more advanced clusters, but then in terms of receptivity, we've seen this growing a lot faster. So the 755 is across the region. So from the teaching conference, the goal was to double the Baha'i population, which at that time was 1,200. So currently, the number that has been enrolled across the cluster in a variety of settings is this 755.
And also, Sami, if you can say a little bit more about the nature of conversation, because this is, most of them is an Islamic population, right? Was it the same conversation, or there were certain specific elements of conversation, and how did you invite them, and whether the leaders had certain questions?
Yeah, so this is mixed, so it's half Islamic and half Christian, and they have a very strong identity with their traditional religious system. And in this traditional religious system, one thing that they've been very happy to mention is that the word Baha'i appears in their vocabulary, meaning to the west, is it? Meaning the person to the west, or if I'm not getting it wrong. And so they, whenever you're teaching, they've, in terms of discerning receptivity, so I didn't read about the institute work, because a big part of this is through the institute work. So whenever there is a study circle, especially an intensive course, then you have people from all segments of the population coming to the study. And as they are studying, then they are trying to learn about this, and usually you'll find the largest number of that will then say that we are Baha'is. From the conversation that is happening in the context of the study circle. But at the same time, the initial conversations went back to when they were initially taught, which was in 1988. And so there's a number of people who are identifying with someone who was reached in 1988 during a week of teaching. And therefore, they kind of feel especially in the first 3 villages, which had been reached back then. So the conversations have mainly been led from the training institute side, trying to bring the friends to study the institute materials, and from these conversations, then this receptivity is recognized.
Thank you very much, Sami. So that was an exception case, and it's a privilege that you will not seek, you'll be given. So it's not a standard. So we invite Philemon from South Sudan, will be followed by Josephine from Northwest Kenya, and I will announce another set of names.
Hello, my friends. Yeah, I will share some of the insights of Toriti cluster in South Sudan. Yeah, the process of teaching started in 2023, where pioneers with a few local Baha'i friends started conversing about the faith and the process of the Rui Institute. In Ridvan 2024, after the local spiritual assembly was reacted, and in collaboration with the nucleus, we started to organize teaching. When the number started to increase, the area teaching committee was appointed, and then now the area teaching committee is the one who organized the teaching work in Torit cluster. Every cycle, we are going out for teaching during the expansion phase for 14 days, and consolidation follow after the expansion. We have also received the support from the national teaching team created by the National Administrative Committee. And then for this one, the approaches we used, one of them is to go house to house. The second one is to have conversation with youths and young mothers. And then the third one is youth gathering. For this experience, we have enrolled 57 believers, both children, youths, and adults, and 23 youths in this number, because the big number is for the youth who are more receptive in the cluster. And now, the local spiritual assembly is now learning how to nurture these youth who are now coming to the near, to be close to the Baha'i faith. And then for this 23 youths, some of them, they were coming as a group, and then others, they were coming individually to enroll in the Baha'i faith. That 15, they came as a group, and then other, they were enrolled individually with the conversation with some local Baha'is who are having conversation with them to raise their understanding about the faith. And then we are now seeing the plan. The next plan is to have accessibility of literature for deepening. This is now the element we are now seeing, because some of the youth who are now coming, they have some difficulties of reading, understanding some of the, because English, South Sudan, most people are speaking Arabic. And then English is also, they are struggling. That's why we are now seeing the way we can also try to have accessibility of literatures to deepening, to make them understand the Baha'i faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Philemon. Maybe, Philemon, if you can take a minute to describe, because you shared an aspect of intensity of your expansion phase, how you spent 14 days teaching. If you can say a little bit more, how many people are involved, and what arrangement enables you to teach with that level of intensity for 2 weeks? And if possible, the materials that you are using, the teaching materials that you use.
Okay. In Torita, we have a team, or we have a teaching team of 12 people, 12 boys who are before the teaching. We are now coming as a nucleus to have some guidance. And then we are using the section 14 of book 2, the third unit, to also remind us the way we can go, how to teach, what are some of the elements we'll be sharing with the friends about teaching, and then how a by teacher will behave when he will go out. Some of the behaviors will also show out. I say 12 people, they are now involving in the teaching in Toriti. And then the materials is the book 2, and then some of the guidance of last time we revised the relevant message 2020-24. It was also helping us to see the I will take it. It will come.
Don't worry. When it comes, we'll give you an opportunity to share.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, but these 12 people, because in other places the challenge of the friends is to create time to do that. How do you manage to create time to function at that level of intensity?
Yeah. To help these people, when we organize teaching, because we organize the teaching in time when people are going to school. And then after school, when the friend will come back to school, we will also come out to teaching. So at evening time, and then we are also using the weekend days, Saturday and Sunday, where people are very free, because in South Sudan, Saturday they don't go to school. And then Sunday people are free. We are using this time, Saturday and Sunday, all a day. And then when they are going to school, afternoon, we came together and then to see the way we organize the teaching go out.
Thank you very much. So now we invite Josephine from Northwest, and followed by Musafiri. Musafiri, I hope you have organized for translation.
Walaupa, dear friends, I'll be sharing from Northwest Kenya, Kimilili cluster, on teaching and enrollments. So Kimilili cluster is a third milestone cluster. It has an area teaching committee in place, which is ensuring that teaching work is being done cycle after cycle. So the cycles are systematic in such a way that in every cycle we have expansion phase. So the area teaching committee is also ensuring that they are mobilizing more and more believers to do teaching, and also to sharpen the skills for teaching. The ATC is also ensuring that many believers do the Rui books 2, book 6, and book 10, especially on the functioning of the area teaching committee. So some of the, in Kimilili cluster we have 13 localities, and from these 13 localities we have one which is a center of intense activity, which is Namawanga B. So in Namawanga B, we have groups of families which have been put in place. So during expansion phase, the teams are being connected to these groups of families during expansion, and they are able to reach many people in these groups of families, the parents, the children, the junior youth, and the youths. And also another avenue, another settings in which teaching is being done in Namawanga. We have, like at the beginning of the plan, we had the worldwide conferences, which were held in 3 pockets. We have 7 pockets, but the conferences were held in 3 pockets. So during these conferences, we were able to reach over 500 people during those conferences, and they were able to interact with the Baha'i faith. And then another avenue, in Namawanga, we have schools around Namawanga community. So it's also another avenue, like in Namawanga Primary, we had that opportunity to introduce the junior youth program. So before the introduction of the program, then we had an opportunity to meet the staff to introduce the faith, and then we had that opportunity to talk about the program, of which we had groups initiated in that school. So that is also an avenue, and we have the Namawanga Baha'i Secondary School, of which we are the sponsors. So each year, we are being requested to do some prayers for the candidates. So during those sessions, we are able to meet the students, the teachers, and other staff of the school. So that is also an arena for teaching. And then another arena is we have spaces for local leaders. These spaces are becoming systematic, in which we invite the local leaders, the area chief, some religious leaders who come specifically to know more about the faith and how we can collaborate to ensure that the programs we have as Baha'is are assisting the community. And then other spaces we have, I think one of the friends mentions about funerals, Baha'i funerals, we have the Baha'i weddings. So during these spaces, they are able to interact with some of the law of burial, the law of Baha'i marriage. So that is also another avenue we are using to teach. And then another one, we have the junior youth camps. So when the camps are finishing, we invite the parents just to come and see what the junior youths are doing in the junior youth programs. So it's also another avenue in which the parents come and we share about the program. And by so doing, we can see some of the parents participating in some of our activities, like the devotional meetings, and some have also enrolled in the institute process.
Josephine?
Yes.
Maybe you may wind up, but before you go, do you have a sense of, from all these avenues,
yes,
how many people so far have enrolled?
So, like in the concluding phase, we were able to enroll around 57. We got 57 enrollments, which has added to the Baha'i population.
This is over the last 4 years?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, friends, we will invite Safiri from Western Tanzania. He will be followed by Dennis from Western Uganda, and Dennis Ingutia from Central West Kenya.
Lapa, I would like to share little experience on the process of teaching and enrollment in Kiziba cluster, found in Western Tanzania. The Kiziba cluster is made up of 5 villages. Faith processes are ongoing in 2 villages, while in the other villages, faith is not yet introduced. Kiziba village is the most advanced with a total of 80 hamlets. Within this village, friends have continued to learn how to strengthen faith activities in a smaller area and function systematically cycle after cycle to generate learning that will enable them to spread faith on other areas of the cluster. The current focus pocket in Kiziba village is Kirasa. The pocket has a total of population 840. The institutions and agencies working within the cluster identified Kirasa pocket as an area to work with systematically cycle after cycle within the aim of generating learning that will enable the dissemination learning to other areas of the cluster. The previous series of plan until the second year of current 9-year plan, the friends were implementing a direct teaching process, which also did not have a continuous conversation with the friends who were being taught the faith, except for those who joined the faith, through whom they would continue with the consolidation process. At the beginning of the third year of the current plan, the friends learning from other clusters within the region and the registration process and the learning from the reality of the area on how they can register friends who were at the threshold. During the period, the friend did registration in 2 areas of the cluster. Since a large number of friends who were at the threshold were registered in the faith, the cluster agencies thought that they would not be able to continue the registration in the future. So they thought of strengthening community building activities and involving more people in these activities so that over time they would register. At the Institute seminar that focused on the teaching and the review of Book 6 held at regional level, where friends from the area were invited, had the same seminar at the cluster with enabled friends to gain a new perspective on the teaching process. Through the experience generated by these seminars, the cluster agencies, local spiritual assemblies, in close collaboration with the auxiliary board member and his assistants, identified a team of friends who coordinated the process of teaching and registration in the selected pocket. The team began by listing the names of all the residents of the pocket and placed them in the stage of moving towards the revolution of Baha'u'llah. The team is in collaboration with the cluster agencies, local spiritual assemblies, and the auxiliary board member and his assistants formed teams of 2 or 3 friends who participated in the seminar to develop a pattern of ongoing conversation with the residents about the teaching of the faith and the person of Baha'u'llah. Each team worked with 1 to 2 families with whom they are related. The honors presentation has become an important material from which the friends draw in their discussions with the family they work with. The team prepare a monthly reflection space within a cycle to friends participating in the process of teaching. These spaces are used to reflect on the pattern of conversation, the extent of respectivity attained to friends, and to identify those at the threshold who can be registered. In addition, these reflections space serve to develop the capacity of a friend to engage in conversation of the faith and the person of Baha'u'llah in the field, drawing from Anna's presentation. Joint reflection meeting between area teaching committee, auxiliary board member or their assistants, local spiritual assemblies, and the team coordinating the teaching process enable team capacity building, a shared vision of what is happening, assessment of the progress and identification of new area of learning. Currently, 51% of residents in the target pocket are already Baha'is, and 72% of the total population is involved in community building activities. The institution have a set goal to help all residents of this area to have an understanding of the revolution of Baha'u'llah and to continue to welcome them into the community of greatest name. Thank you so much.
So this is a turning point for Safiri. And that was exceptional because we expected him to have 2 sets of 5 minutes for translation, and he combined them into less than 10. So we'll invite Dennis from Western Uganda, followed by Dennis Ngutia. Yes, from Central West, and May Bratton from Eritrea will follow.
I'm also going to share this experience from one of the clusters in Western Uganda, that is in the Wujo. At the beginning of the 9-year plan, this cluster was not yet open, but along the way it was open, and currently it is sustaining 233 believers. And these are some of the approaches that we have been using to advance the teaching work in this cluster. So some of the approaches have been mentioned by my colleagues, but one of it was organizing conferences, teaching conferences every cycle. We've been having teaching conferences every cycle where we invite the community members to, and then we share with them the history of the faith. Because this cluster was long ago, it was opened and it had believers, so it was easy to advance the teaching work in this cluster. And another approach we have been using is the community gathering for worship every Sunday, where the Baha'is come together to say prayers, but of course not only the Baha'is who are coming for prayers, where even the community members have been joining this gathering for prayers, and it has been a platform where friends share with them about the teachings of the faith, and then they study some relevant materials that assist them to connect with the revelation of Baha'u'llah. And we have also been using the 19-day feast and the Baha'i holidays to advance the teaching work. It has really played a vital role in increasing the Baha'i population in the cluster. Another element is we have been also utilizing the expansion phase to ensure systematic home visiting to families to advance the teaching work. Because we have the teaching teams that are really doing in the expansion phase to carry out home visits, to have conversation with the families. And these teaching teams have been accompanied by an assistant to auxiliary board member who is following these teaching teams to raise their capacity by assisting them to review the first 4 books of the main sequence, but also even book 10, that is really assisting them to systematize the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I don't know if Dennis, from less than a minute, you would, not Dennis Ngutia. How is the 19-day feast? In what ways you are using 19-day feast to advance the teaching work? If you can say something. Because we all have 19-day feast in our communities.
Yes. So for the 19-day feast, after the 3 parts, and the social part, the administrative, and then the devotional part, friends are asked to remain to basically share about the history of the faith in this cluster, because the cluster was open some time back, but then of course the friends really want to know more how the faith is now advancing. So then we utilize this time to assist them to basically talk about the history of the faith in Uganda, but also even the teachings of the faith in general. So this also assists the friends to be connected to to the teachings of the faith, to draw nearer to the revelation of Baha'u'llah. But it was a request of the local spiritual assembly that after celebrating, let us have 30 minutes where we talk about the teachings, where we share with the friends the teachings, because then our 19-day feast in the individual class is not attended by Baha'is only. That's why we had to say, okay, now if the communities are also joining, we shouldn't refuse them to participate in the 19-day feast. So then we say, okay, now let us also use this opportunity to advance the teaching work in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we invite Dennis Ingutia from Central West Kenya, who will be followed by May Braton from Eritrea, and then Abbas Malem from Westlake, Tanzania, and Eric Oyeko from Southwest Kenya.
So, may I share a little bit about enrollment among the youth. And this is Central West, Matunda Soi. Just talk about some of the arenas in which we interact with the youth and they enroll.
Dennis, can you bring your microphone closer?
So one of them is youth gatherings and conferences. So in these spaces of fellowship and purpose conversations, so hearts of youth are touched, and the understanding of the process that they engaged in or they are going to engage in is deepened. And from this, then a good number of them, they enroll to become Baha'is. But another thing has been those who are advancing through the institute courses. So the courses then give them capacity to serve alongside others, and the understanding of the teaching as they advance through the sequence also increases when they are acting in their communities. And this learning process then makes them to feel comfortable to enroll as Baha'is. As we know, Matunda Soi has a house of worship. So this atmosphere of reverence and welcoming at the house of worship offers youth the first contact, those who are visiting for the first time, to interact with the faith. So through prayer, conversations, and teachings, so they come to know who is Baha'u'llah, and from the writings, then they enroll to become Baha'is. But also, there are quite a number of youth who are engaged with the community-based initiatives. And in Luanda, we have one of them that is dealing with youth. We call it LUSA. So most of these youth, when they come to participate in the activities of that initiative, so they interact with the concepts such as service to the community. And when they start participating, so they are attracted to the principles of the faith, and a good number of them, we are seeing they are enrolling to become Baha'is. But also through accompanying that the coordinators and others do to the community, so they invite youth to come for community gatherings. There are other community gatherings that are happening, and through this, then the friends will talk about the role of youth in the community. And when this youth comes to understand their role, so they are attracted even to the concept of participating in activities. And so from this, then we see quite a number of youth have been enrolling to become Baha'is. Since the beginning of this 9-year plan, those who are graduating from the Junior Spiritual Empowerment Program, who have been advancing from the text of the junior youth, they feel a deep attachment to the ideas that they have been studying in the texts. And this matures into faith that makes them to become Baha'is. And when we continue working with them, so we see their commitment even to service has become something else compared to those who just come into the process. So through these efforts, then we see how young people are coming and enrolling in the faith. But another thing has been working with the local leaders, to encourage them to connect the youth from their communities to the community building process. And through these efforts, we've seen a quite number of these youth enrolling. So since the beginning of the plan, we've seen almost 180 youth becoming Baha'is.
Thank you very much, Dennis. So maybe Dennis, with this deliberate effort to teach amongst the youth, is there an arrangement that specifically follows and systematizes this, or is by cluster coordinators or area teaching committee? Who follows this specific aspect of teaching amongst the youth? Is there an arrangement, or?
They are different. One, we are using the existing structures that exist within the cluster. One is the cluster coordinators, that when they are working with the youth, then they help them to understand what the purpose of this and the source of what we are doing. But also, for example, in Luanda, the local spiritual assembly has appointed a committee that follows the youth. So through this committee, they try to analyze who are these youth, at what point are they in their level of advancement, and who are these that are ready to be encouraged to to join the faith. But also with the area teaching committee, at the level of the zone, we have a facilitator who also collaborates with the groups of families where these youth are coming from, and then they help, to identify the number of youth who are coming from different groups of families who are engaged in the process, and how we can assist them to make a next step.
And also, Dennis, in the youth gatherings, if you can briefly describe how it actually happens, how the process of enrollment in that setting happens.
So one has been the material for youth conference themselves. Those conversations are in different statements. Most specifically, youth in the third statement, youth and community. So with this, then the youth feels to be connected to what is happening, because they understand their role as youth within the community. So the facilitators then will emphasize that the youth have a role that they need to play, and we have these cohorts of young people within the community that are engaged in this process. Then they are being asked to be connected to this. The examples of those 4 youth in the materials stimulates or motivates this youth to be connected, to remain connected, and they advance together as one group. Because we have others that already are Baha'is, so when they are coming together, there are other elements that they are being introduced to. For example, what my namesake was saying of the 19-day feast, and also the election for the youth who are 18 and above. So these who are Baha'is, and then they are kind of helping others to understand other elements, because they feel there's privilege in participating in such kind of Baha'i identity. So for them to partake those blessings, then they have to enroll to become Baha'is. So I think through those conversations, then they're encouraged to become Baha'is.
Thank you. So we will invite Mebraton from Eritrea, and will be followed by Abbas Malemo from Westlake, Tanzania, and Eric Yoyeku from Southwest Kenya.
Hello, Abha, friends. Eritrea is historically one of the first countries which accepts the Baha'i faith, from the African countries. There was a strong community since early 1960s, but because of the wars with Ethiopia and other factors, the Baha'i community is not strong as earlier. Now the community is working hardly against all odds. Asmara is the capital city of Eritrea, and it's one of the clusters, one of the 28 clusters, and we are working in concentrating in 5 clusters from the 28 clusters. And Asmara is now in the second milestone, and we are working to pass it to a strong second milestone in 20 26. From my area, I will give you some two examples from the activities that is working in Eritrea. The two examples are, for example, from my area, the Symbol Complex in Asmara. We try to gather children, junior youth and youth, totally around 56 in number. We divide them according to their age and teach them Baha'i-inspired virtues in moral classes. These classes were given after they came back from school. That means in the evening. 2 classes at the same time, but in different houses. We make their family to participate in the teaching process by contributing materials, allowing their house to serve as a class. And some of the parents also participate in teaching the prepared materials for the kids. It was indirect teaching of the principles of Baha'u'llah. Twice a year, we took them, the children, the juniors and youth, to a trip, like a picnic. This trip is also funded by the parents. Every parent was happy of this activity, except few who were not welcome to send their children. Other clusters, like the town of Dekamhare and Barontu, are also moving forward in their activities of the teachings of Baha'u'llah. At the 2 towns, there are 2 Baha'i-inspired kindergarten schools. The people in each of these towns know these schools are owned by Baha'is, and they are welcome and happy to send their children. These respective Baha'i families, in addition to give Baha'i-inspired virtues and teachings, they also invite some families and neighbors during the Baha'i holidays. The government officials were attracted by these schools and visited them and make a show in the national TV broadcast, especially for the Dekamhare town kindergarten. The other school in Barontu is a little far away from the city of Asmara. The Baha'i family who resides there is very strong family. They have a very big number of children class on weekends. They have strong connection with the NSA. They always ask some assistance, but they can't receive it because of the distance. They always receive guidance, moral and spiritual, but it's a little bit difficult to move there, to move to Barontu and help in person. This is shortly brief what is going on in Eritrea. Thank you very much.
This is very inspiring, friends, because we know the context within which he's describing and the circumstances, but still friends are managing to teach, to navigate, and it's a message for some of us where we are free to teach at any time. We don't have an excuse. So friends, we will invite Abasi Malemo from Western Tanzania, will be followed by Ieko, and Enoke from Northern Uganda. Prepare.
Dear friends, Salapa. So I'll share with you the learnings from Shamba cluster. This is the learning which is, we are trying to learn systematically about teaching and the enrollment of believers from cycle to cycle. So Shamba cluster is located in the Western Lake region of Tanzania. The cluster is being still learning in systematic manner how to carry forward the process of teaching and registration of believers from cycle to cycle with the support of area teaching committee, which consists of 5 members. So I will share with you the progress which have been taken during the 9-year plan. So at the first 4 years of the plan. So at the beginning of the plan, we had 38 believers, that is 2022, and currently the Nshamba cluster is having 264 believers. This is equal to the increase in number of believers in number of 226. So there is increase of 226 believers over the past 4 years of the plan. And this is also equal to 594% of growth compared to the time when the plan was launched. So this is a percentage of increase of this total number of believers. And there are some factors which have contributed to these achievements, the one being to responding in a timely manner to the needs and coordination structures needed in the cluster. Also, we have focused on the expansion and the consolidation phases in the cluster. Also, we use the cluster teaching teams effectively to make sure that the teaching activities are conducted at every cycle. Also, there is a building capacity of many friends to study institute books, that is book 2 and book 6, to make sure that they are able to teach well the faith of God. Also, we encourage the unity of vision among the cluster institutions and the agencies, and also the devotion meetings, which are held regularly at every week in the cluster. Also devoting more sufficient time in the field has been one of the factors contributing to such achievements. Also having the regional teams focusing on teaching and educational processes has been helping on this achievement. Other one is paying special attention to friends who are at the threshold. Also holding teaching conferences at the cluster level is one of the achievement, one of the strategies we use to get those achievements. Also acting with clear priorities during the implementation of the plans. Another one is convening regular reflection meetings at the cluster level. Also presence of strong nuclear friends who consistently enter the field, engage in meaningful conversation with the friends, and also organizing capacity building seminars for those who are actively engaged in service. The last one which have contributed such achievements is learning from the most advanced clusters learning from the most advanced clusters and the regions. So friends, thanks so much.
Thank you. So we'll invite Yeko. Sorry. Yes. Eric Oyeko from Southwest Kenya, and will be followed by Enoch from Northern Uganda, and Johnson from Southwest Prepare.
Thank you very much. I will briefly share simple experiences from Ugenya cluster that is in Southwest region. About direct teaching and enrollment. So over the recent cycles, a small number of friends in Ugenya have been trying to become more intentional about direct teaching while continuing to strengthen institute activities. One of the experiences come from home visits and devotional gatherings. There have been some friends, the Baha'is, who are conducting activities, the co-activities within the cluster. That is children's classes, junior youth groups, and even devotional meetings, and as well study circles. So these friends have been conducting home visits to maybe the parents who their children are part of these programs, and even to extending devotional gatherings to the same parents. But what they do mainly share previously was just prayers, and even they were building on how to extend friendship among these parents and even the siblings of these children, and even the junior youths who are participating in the program. Then upon their reflection, these friends who are shouldering these activities, they realize that they are not always clear when introducing Baha'u'llah, and at the same time, they were not clear on how to invite the friends or to embrace the faith. So as time goes by, they began to speak openly upon going through some RUI courses, which was helping them to open up and even to build their capacities in terms of conversing with these friends on how they can embrace the faith at large. Another experience involves the youth. In Ugenya cluster, over the past few circles, the friends decided to approach these institutions like schools, where they were able to get the young people, that is the youth, and upon reaching to these schools, they were able to begin a conversation with the teachers, who were able to allow them to converse with the young people, the youth, and through that process, they were able to enroll around 23 youth who went through the RUI courses, that is book 1, and after that, they also realized that these friends need to initiate some activities like a devotional meeting. Then upon that, under that process of accompanying these friends, they were able to get deeply into conversation with these young people, whereby some of them were able to get enrolled as Baha'is. Lastly, which I may share on, is the experience that relates to the families, whereby the friends were regularly contacting few households. And in Ugenya, there is this small team of friends who are youth, around 10. So these friends were able to contact few households. And as they were doing this, they could pray and converse. As they were doing this, there were some kind of hesitations, like they were not having that enough courage to do that. But as time goes by, they were able to learn on the importance of offering a gentle invitation to these people, whereby they were able to maybe discuss with these families about the importance of taking the community's responsibilities by them. So as they were doing this, they were able also to know that inviting these friends takes time, and they should know that there is a right time to do that. And as they were doing this, it came clear that these families, as they were embracing the faith together, it has to be sustained. And it is not something which should just be done once, but gradually as time goes by.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So friends, I have 6 names, and we have roughly 20 minutes to come to a conclusion of this session. So I will invite, with that information in mind, you need to be generous. So I will invite Enoch, and then Johnston and Manek Mkondia from Tanzania could also prepare. And after Manek, we'll invite Victor from Central West. So Enoch is from northern Uganda.
Hello, dear friends. I will be as generous as possible with time. I'll be sharing about teaching and enrollment in generally in northern Uganda. The emergency of programs of growth signals the need for local spiritual assembly to come into being to sustain the fledgling initiatives that often begins with pioneer or a traveling tutor, together with a few friends laboring at the grassroots. However, one of the key learnings that have emerged in northern Uganda is that pioneer deployment alone is insufficient. Sustained accompaniment and simple systems of follow-up in their teaching endeavors are necessary for the emergence of local spiritual assemblies. From the onset of the deployment of pioneers to 26 clusters in March 2023, February 2024, and April 2024, the goal was clear: to create conditions for the formation of local spiritual assemblies, which requires the presence of at least 9 adult Baha'is, age 21 years and above, within a defined locality, usually a parish in rural areas or a town council or municipal or city in urban settings. To support these efforts, deliberate actions was taken at the regional level. During one of the regional planning spaces, measures were put in place to strengthen the teaching work of the pioneers. After their deployment, the region ensured that pioneers were assisted in their clusters. Pairs of individuals at the regional level were asked to accompany pioneers in home visits in these clusters, engaging people directly in conversations about the persons of Baha'u'llah and his revelation. To strengthen follow-up, the Secretary of the Regional Baha'i Council formed a WhatsApp group linking teaching teams and institutions like the auxiliary board members and the counselor. Teaching teams were encouraged to initiate conversations with Baha'is in their localities to identify individuals who had shown interest in the faith and could be supported to take the next step with relative ease. This early and systematic conversation bore fruits. As a direct result, local spiritual assemblies were formed in all the pioneer clusters, and the total number of assemblies in the region increased from 18 to 37, more than doubling in a single year, an unprecedented development for the region. Throughout the year, the friends in these clusters were encouraged to continue holding teaching conferences, sometimes with the support of visiting teaching teams or members of the regional teams accompanying pioneers. These efforts led to the steady registration of individuals who had come to recognize the revelation of Baha'u'llah. In the reservoir clusters in the region, such as Kamdini, Padire, Okolo, Paida, Apach, and Gulu, the focus on the strengthening teaching teams to work systematically with groups of families. Initial efforts concentrated on the reinforcing 2 levels of saturation, which is the devotional meetings and the educational imperatives in the villages of focus. These assemblies have been operating with the help from the teams of assistants appointed by the auxiliary board members to assist them raise their capacity to function at a certain level, and at the beginning to enhance further their teaching efforts, meet with a degree of regularity, and establish the local fund. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will welcome Johnson from Southeast Kenya. Will be followed by Manek, and if we have some time, Wana Victor probably will be our last contributor.
I'll just take some few minutes to just to describe a little bit how the region of Biocans is strengthening teaching work in the region, and then maybe take a little bit other few minutes to narrow down to Nairobi cluster. So just briefly, the region of Biocans is trying to learn on how to expand strategic nucleus at the level of sub-region, just which really consists of natives to advance teaching work in the adjacent clusters within each sub-region. So then, for example, we have a coastal sub-region where we have a team of friends, especially actually from most advanced cluster Mtepeni and Mazangoni, which consist of the Mijikendas, especially the Giriama people, who actually assist teaching work within a coastal sub-region cluster. And then we have another team at Kajiado sub-region from Kimana, which actually and consists of Masai, some Masai friends, which accompanies the other Kajiado clusters in terms of teaching. And then lastly, we have another team at Lower Eastern, of course, consisting of Kamba people, which actually accompanies teaching work within that sub-region. And then lastly, Nairobi sub-region, Nairobi being the third milestone cluster, acts as a reservoir in us actually sending some teams within the sub-region to support the emerging cluster. And then lastly, just trying to work alongside time, I'll really talk a little bit about the learnings from Nairobi on how they have advanced teaching work since the beginning of the plan. And I'll talk about the collaboration, the enhanced collaboration of local speech assembly and the area teaching committee. So the local speech assembly and the area teaching committee has been learning on how to ensure that a good number of people within especially expansion phase are engaged in conversation about the personage of Bahá'u'lláh over the last 4 years. And in doing so, we have been having a regular spaces of reflection on how to increase the bands of believers to participate in teaching work, especially at the level of the sector in this cluster. And also, they have been also learning on how to engage more youth, especially those who are connected to community building activities, just to ensure that apart from participating in the institute activity, at least some are invited to join the community. And in doing so, the local speech assembly over the past 4 years have been creating some spaces which actually invite these youth for deepening. And as a result, we have about 46 youths who have declared to who have been enrolled to the faith. And then I'll also talk about how also area teaching committee.
Maybe very, very briefly.
Yes.
Because we don't have enough time. Very brief, 1 minute.
Okay. So I'll lastly talk about how area teaching committee actually arranges for expansion phase and how it encourages a mass of believers to participate, especially at the level of the sector. So the committee has actually encourages collective teaching, where we have some teams in different sectors, and maybe also have also encouraged many believers to participate in the cluster reflection meeting. So finally, Over the last year, we have had, over the 4 years, we have had at least 128 people enrolling into the faith. Thank you, in Nairobi.
Wow, thank you very much. So we have Manek, and Manek, be mindful that there is someone who is at your mass. Where do you? So you have, because of translation, maybe you can plan to speak for 2.5 minutes, and the translator use the other 2.5 minutes.
Cluster ya Halungu inajumuisha jumla kata 3 na vijiji 15. Na katika cluster hii shughuli nyingi sana zinafanywa katika kijiji cha Halungu, ambacho tuna jumla ya idadi ya watu 2483 na kaya 1070, ambapo wanawake ni 2980 na wanaume ni 2503, na idadi ya Wabahai jumla inakuja 226, wakiwemo vijana na watu wazima 175, watoto 43 na vijana chipukizi 8. Vipo vijiji jirani ambavyo tunazunguka navyo. Nini ambacho tunakuwa tunafanya? Naweza nitazungumza kidogo juu ya maduru mawili ambayo yalipita kwenye, baada ya kupata uzoefu wa ujifunzaji wa kitabu cha 6 kwa marafiki wote wa Kigoma, na tukaja kupata uzoefu kidogo kwenye zile timu za ufundishaji, na tumekuwa tukipata waumini wapya kupitia hizi timu za ufundishaji, lakini pia tukiwa tunatumia sanaa uimbaji, ambapo marafiki wakati tunafanya mazoezi ya kukwaya, watu wengi huwa wanakuja eneo lile, na wakati wakiwa hapo eneo hilo, basi kuna marafiki wengine ambao kidogo huwa wanakuwa wanafanya ufundishaji, lakini tukiwa tunafanya nao mazoezi pamoja na kuimba pamoja, na wakati huo tukifanya ufundishaji kidogo katika eneo.
Following the seminar of Book 6 that was organized at the network level, the friends from Halungu had a plan of like 2 circles, and this, so from that seminar, it happened that they identified approaches that would be used to make sure that enrollment and registration increases in the cluster. And some of these approaches they thought of were teaching teams, choir, and then there was this registration process itself, where now he was speaking of what has happened recently, where they have this choir group that get together weekly, and so many other people are coming because of that choir. So as they sing, they practice the singing. Others are outside with different friends who have come to observe. But then during this teaching process, some of them get enrolled.
Na kwa namna hiyo, kwa pengele cha hayo madulu mawili yaliyopita, tumeweza kupata jumla ya Wabahai wapya 34 ambao katika duru la pili na la 3, na kwa njia hizo ambazo nilikuwa nimezungumza ambazo tumeweza kuwapatia wa marafiki.
So for the last 2 circles, 34 Baha'is have enrolled, and through using those approaches that have just been mentioned, particularly that of registration and that of choir.
Thank you.
Asante sana. So now we have some minutes for Victor, and Victor, our tea break is at your mass.
I'll talk about teaching and enrollment in the context of families. And I'm sharing the experience of Tiriki West. So teaching families is one of the objects of learning for the area teaching committee of Tiriki West, and especially families that we are working with, and they're engaged in the process to formally enroll. So as part of the learning efforts, initially, we focused this learning in 2 centers of intense activities, Givogi and Boyani. And from there, the area teaching committee, together with the cluster agencies, analyzed some of the insights that were generated in these 2 villages. So our objects of learning was to learn on how do we invite someone who has been involved in community building process to formally register as a Baha'i. What concepts are relevant when conversing with such souls? How can administrative barriers such as signing cards that prevent souls from seeing themselves as Baha'is be removed? What alternative can be maintained and formality of that recognition be there, recognized? How can groups of individuals, particularly entire families, be invited to register together? How can mental barriers on the part of individual declaring their faith to be addressed, including perceptions of we and them? So working in the 2 villages, we were able to gain some insights. So one was working with groups of families helps create conditions in which souls advance together in their association with the faith. This arrangement is especially crucial in managing larger numbers, as it ensures that every family and individual remains connected to the process and receives the necessary support. Groups of families often begin by initiating community building activities like devotional meetings, and later on, the institute also takes root, and we see families advancing together. As a strategy of inviting those at the threshold, special campaigns are organized to register families as groups. This includes conversations on the covenant, the eternal covenant, the person of Baha'u'llah, and what it means to be a Baha'i. When families are ready, their names are recorded on the registration form, which is understood to be used by the local spiritual assembly for record keeping. Once souls register, many aspects of Baha'i life begin to unfold within groups of families, including home visits, 19-day feasts, and others. So by learning about this experience, the area teaching committee has been deliberate in extending this experience to other villages in Tiriki West. And reading the broader reality, it noticed that we have 25,000 families in 25 localities in the cluster. 7 of these localities have already initiated groups of families, where currently in the cluster, the ATC has initiated 175 groups of families involving 1,555 families, and with about 7,000 people who are in each of these groups of families. But 72 are where we see almost the whole family, group of family registering as Baha'is. So this is something that we are learning in these 7, from 2, now 7, and the idea is to advance now to the rest of the villages. And just to conclude, for the past 4 years, 475 individuals have enrolled in the faith, and in Tiriki West. Thank you.
Thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much. So, friends, from all these and from different settings, we have appreciated that we are indeed teaching. And we have many souls in the community building process, and many more will come. And from what you're sharing, this understanding of these souls being in a journey towards the revelation, the question is, what are we doing? And from what you're sharing reflects that, to assist them continue moving towards the revelation. And as they move along the way, their relationship with the faith advances, evolves, to the point the House of Justice says some of them declare, and you have shared examples, but others, as they advance, they don't, but they show, they consider themselves as being one with the community. Who is following them? to timely know that these indicators suggest that this soul is already considering himself as one with the community, and then we welcome. And what are the indicators that help us discern that this is the time when the receptivity has matured into the faith? So we are hoping, with the help of the questions that will guide us in breakout session 4, one practical step will be to what will be a learning process, a systematic learning process, to follow this process a bit more systematic, so that an increasing portion of those that we invite in the community building process are also increasingly enrolling into the faith, and not just registration, but also strengthening cycles of activity to ensure the teaching teams, the intensity during the expansion phase, and also encouraging more and more individuals to participate in the teaching work. Hoping that the communities, yes. So before we conclude the announcement, I will invite Mama Rachel.
Sorry. It's just something to bring to your attention. Because when we sit here and we hear all what you are sharing, teaching, there's no doubt, teaching is happening. And now we have no doubt enrollments are coming. But somehow, either it's the capacity for you to ensure this data is captured in SRP. Because what we have at the World Center does not indicate. Actually, instead, does not indicate there is increase in enrollments. Instead, it's going down, 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 down. Meaning, there is a capacity which has not been built, or there is not that consciousness about how to enter these names into the SRP. And that's why he's saying, if there's nobody who is making sure that this is done, then for sure, people are becoming. But we also want to follow that process so that we can also disseminate that learning to other places who probably have not yet learned how to know what factors which help people to come. So I just wanted to highlight this idea of capturing this information in your SRP so that we can have the true picture of what is happening.
Asante sana. Thank you. And friends, we kindly request, we have seen all of you have written your experiences. We kindly request you share with us, and we'll share with you the names of our aides that you can give these write-up from yesterday. So the friends from Uganda, kindly share these with Martha. I don't know where is Martha in the room. Could you stand up, please, Martha? So if you can share all your experiences to Martha, she will put them together for us. And friends from Kenya and South Sudan, share them with dear Kevin. Where is Kevin? Kevin is there. So please, if you can forward to Kevin. And friends from Tanzania, share them with Mateso. You know Mateso. And friends from Ethiopia and Eritrea, dear Bitia. Yes, yeah. So every day, whoever is sharing, after sharing, kindly forward those, because we need them to share with others who are not here. So let's enjoy our break. We'll come back here at 10:15, seated. So before you go, there is a logistical announcement.